This is one of 5 bonus episodes of the Zero Cafe podcast that I recorded live at the 2021 edition of the conference formerly known as Conversion Hotel, which was held on the lovely island of Texel in the Netherlands. Theme of this session is optimizing for customer lifetime value, and my guests in the cafe are Carl Gillis, better known as the G in AG Consult, and Tim Stewart, director at TRS Digital Limited. The Zero Cafe podcast is made possible by Klaviyo, VWO and the Online Influence Institute, and of course a big thanks to Tom Wessling and the rest of the organization for having us at their conference. So we started talking about CLTV and that it's relatively easy to start calculating that when you have a single online store, but it becomes much harder when you need to include multiple channels. So my question then is how to try to do this and how to start approaching this.
I'm trying to think of a way to explain this without using the word Amazon. I'm not sure I can.
Should you try to, or
do what you can do. So this is a lot of the people, and the same is true with when we're talking about doing testing. A lot of people used to jump in going, I need to do an MVT test. Why? Because they're the good ones. And do you want to do some research first before you even run an A/B test? Let's get your analytics working. So there's an awful lot of kind of the hot new shiny thing. And I think trying to jump into the if we could get more money out of every customer, we win. Yes, but there are all these prerequisite steps, even acquiring a customer in the first place, that need to be done properly, and then you can start to move this forward. And I don't think every business is set up to work to a lifetime value or increasing the value per customer setup simply because they haven't got the other stuff done. They need to do the basic bits first.
Or they go in a crazy mode of selling. That's also often the case. It's like, but we do something, and it's like, what? And then you see, for example, all the email communication they do is always targeted towards buy this, and they don't have a conversation with the client. So
it's old school. It's push media, isn't it?
It's pretty old school most of the time.
I've got a target to hit. You need to buy something from me. It's like, did you think about asking what they need? Mm-hmm. And that I think is where the challenge comes, is that not every business needs to have a lifetime value setup, just because it doesn't fit. It's low loyalty commodity product. You are literally firing on volume, churn it out the door. But where you've got an opportunity, and again, try not to mention the Amazon thing, they've worked on the business that it doesn't really matter what they're selling as long as they're selling you something. And so they've gone to much more of a kind of a pull approach rather than the push approach, in terms of going, look, we got it here, how can we solve for you? And we've had kind of the buzzword for the last few years. The buzzword we've had for the last few years has been user-centric. But that, again, is just a buzzword. People actually say user-centric all the time. We're a user-centric, people-first, data-driven company. Do you want to show me some evidence of that? Because I've not seen that in my...
I remember being at a company that said all the designers, they were now going to do a user-centric model. And basically what that meant was previously they had discussions, okay, I'm going to do it, I've made this design because I like it. And now they said, okay, now I made this design because I think the users will like it.
Our personas will like it.
Our personas will like it even better,
It's a slightly off topic, but has anybody followed the Twitter account Shit User Stories? If you don't, follow the Twitter account Shit User Stories, because if anybody's worked in a product team and had to put this sort of stuff through, then the amount of just on the nose, I've sat there and had customers give me hypotheses like that and going, the reason we think this works is we want their money. It's like this. If that's both parts know the way that transaction's going to work, if both parts agree with that, then that's fine, and you service that as well as possible. But it's not user-centric to go, their money should be in my pocket, without giving them a reason for it. Oh. So that's the kind of the 2-year-old hot topic, and I think now we're coming into customer value optimization, or whatever euphemism, whatever 3-letter acronym you want to put on it. I'd like to see some people do the basics properly first, and then we can move on to what would do better, or particularly in like SaaS situations, shaping the audience. We aren't well suited to serve this type of customer, so we should do less acquisition of those. We should maybe not optimize for those. Mm-hmm. But that's a level of sophistication. You need to be kind of self-aware as a business as to who you serve well.
Getting the right customer.
Rather than going, I'll take everybody, go, let's do really good job on these guys and allow the fact that the high churn, low loyalty people will go to our competitors because they're expensive to run and we don't want them and they're expensive to buy and Google keeps cranking the price up and Facebook keeps doing. Let's not bother. Let's win on the ones we can win. And that's a really hard conversation to have with a CFO who's been told growth. And you're going, profitability?
Yeah. And a lot of companies are trying to adopt a subscription model. That's quite popular. Do you think that's going to help with that focus on lifetime value?
Well, for some, yes, but I think,
Okay, it's
a lot of companies have different problems to handle, and that's a new shiny object again. It's like, something new, make it into a subscription form. Let's try this. Let's do that.
Does it help the customer?
Sometimes, but most of the time, no.
If it's a consumable, if you're helping them with discovery, like things like Gusto and the taste boxes, then there's an angle where what you're selling is your curation, not the actual product. So those things in the direct-to-consumer stuff, like Harry's Razors, you may have heard of them if you've listened to a podcast ever. But those things are kind of hot right now. But again, why copycat? If that's not what your business is set up to do. I saw somebody trying to do this with car tyres. It's like, they're a consumable, but
every 4 years.
But in the last 18 months, you probably put a lot less miles on your car. So if you've got to replace my tyres every 6 months because I'm a high volume driver contract, that's
maybe for lease companies. Those are your customers.
Yeah, but that's not everybody. So they're trying to put a square peg into a round hole is the repeated problem every time. It works, but what's the benefit to the customer? Do you guys remember the Amazon buttons where you could just reorder?
Oh yeah, the dash buttons.
The dash buttons. They've finally killed them, and I thought that's a technical solution to a problem I'm not sure anybody has.
No, indeed. True.
But it came out on April 1st, and I was kind of like, what? Really? Oh no, they actually are making these. But that, again, kind of follow the logic, and obviously the Echo and the rest of all have Siri that you can do the voice ordering now. But for the most part, that's just Amazon just going, I'll make it easy for you to get what you need.
Yeah. Or maybe the problem is still there, but a button like that is not the solution for
it. Was not the solution.
You're still running out of milk. So
he's still running out of milk because he's still got to allow for time, especially kind of like delivery and stuff at the moment. And then they're one-trick ponies. You've got the surf button on your washing machine. Well, if you've got a toddler, good luck on that one. And then there was very little in the way of kind of like accidental nudge detection because doesn't benefit Amazon to go, oh, sorry, you ordered 50, not my problem. And because it's something you will consume, as long as you can store it, it'll still work. But ultimately, that makes people reluctant, and there's no chance to swap brands. So I can see the advantage to the brand, I can see the advantage to the logistics company delivering that stuff. To the end user, no.
Yeah.
But so this is the kind of, it's the mother load, isn't it? People go, give me my money, give it again next month, make no effort, reduce my acquisition costs. No wonder they're all chasing it. But it's a lot harder to do than it is to say. And if you're not doing the sale part right, if you're not doing the thank you email right, if you're not making sure that the
after sale,
the original logistics, the customer service works,
you might make a lot of people in the company angry or get them out of a job if you're doing this. I was working for a coffee company, and I was telling them actually for the return purchase, do we actually need a website? I mean, we already know what they want. I mean, and the level of effort that you're competing with when buying coffee is basically everyone is going to the supermarket anyway. So basically the level of effort that you're competing with is someone doing and then you have this whole website with the whole process.
But they're all trying to do the printer. They're all trying to do the printer ink thing. Look, you've got the coffee machines. Once I sold you the coffee machine, you can buy my brand of pods. So then that makes sense for them because effectively you're hooked in for life. But people are wise to this now. They're well aware of the fact that if I go the Apple ecosystem, every device I'm going to buy was going to be, because it all just works together. And so people are
€30 for a cable.
They're canny enough to know. And then what I think's made the difference there is they've branded it as though, yeah, that means you're part of my team. We've identified tribes, and people are selling that as you're in the ecosystem, but that's actually your badge of honor. So it's quite a clever sleight of hand, but all you've done is lock it.
And I think that's changing, yeah. Well, also in the printer industry, for example, HP is known for those cheap printers and exceptional expensive cartridges. And brands like Epson now, they have like more expensive printers, but you can just buy a big bottle of ink and that's it.
Yeah, my
They
Epson
don't.
printer, I wanted to print something in black and white last month and didn't want to print because the color cartridge was not was empty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's no cyan. You
The
can't
black
print
one
without
is
cyan.
cool.
Yeah, so
Also.
the problem we've got, I think, with lifetime value stuff is because it's been abused so much. The customer, the people you're trying to get that lifetime value from, is very rightly wary of these tricks.
Yeah.
So the people who've done really well with it doing that are the people who have gone. And I work in automotive, which is quite high repurchase rate. Like once you're in a brand, 3 years' time when your lease runs up, you'll probably be in the same brand again. And there's one chance, there's a 6-month window where they can do what they call a conquest sale, where Audi will really market the shit out of it to get you out of the BMW and into their Audi.
Maybe we should stress the word value a little bit less and more customer lifetime.
Yeah. But those ones you can sell. You know when the service is coming in, you know when their tyres are coming in, you know when their wife's car's due for service. You can, with the right data, sit there and go, we don't need to rinse £20,000 profit out of the original car because for the next 20 years, we'll be taking £1,000 a year off you. And everybody you speak to, you'll be going, I like this brand because they look after me. But that's a long game, and an awful lot of the targets we're working to are all based on this year's financial ROI. And so it's very hard to explain that your payoff is going to be in 10 months plus minimum before you even start to see ROI on your cost per acquisition. And as acquisition costs go up, that sum's harder and harder to balance.
And difficult to test.
Yeah, which annoys the CROs. We can't A/B test that. You don't have to A/B test that. You could just see, does the number go up?
Indeed.
Are the people happier?
Yeah.
Well, also those car companies are switching to subscription models, right? I mean, you see all these ads for. Well, I have all these Volvo ads in my timeline, and then look at the monthly cost, and I think, oh, maybe not.
Yeah, I too look at those going, if £300 a month cheaper, that would almost make sense. There's a whole different thing in terms of fleet disposal there, though. So there is a hidden cost to when that car is no longer active. They've got to take it back in, refurb it, and get it back out into the second-hand market, and they need to control supply and demand there as well. So when you buy that car, you don't see that what they call defleeting problem. But when they are creating their business model, they basically need to cover that cost, which is why it's a dissuasive price for a reason. For some people it makes sense, and at the moment they're only appealing to that higher tier people because that's the market they've identified they can work to. And if you are high net worth, or it's easier for you to go, I will rent this, I'll have this, and I've got some flexibility. And the Merc one's quite clever because you can kind of be in your saloon car for 9 months of the year and then go, can I have the estate to go on holiday for 2 months? And that's a supply and demand thing where they need to have a massive stock. It's like having a hire fleet. But that flexibility, I think, where like you see in the car share and the kind of Uber, Tesla model, direct sale, transport's going to be fun in the next couple of years. There's some real game changing going on. And that's where I can see car ownership being kind of a hobbyist thing only.
Especially when it's
I will have one.
Land Rover or a Jeep, let's try to bring it back to for CRO specialist working. And I mean, I've often you do experiments, and it all feels very short term. Whatever you can measure within those 4 weeks that you run the experiment. Practically, can we do experiments on customer lifetime value? Can we get there? How do we make that happen? Or are there proxies that we can use for this?
Yeah,
I think I'm not sure about the testing part as such. Well, on the short,
for optimizing in general.
Well, the first week, yes, after a sale, but the long term, no. But I think the rest of the process, we have the research and see what is the problem and how can we solve it, and that's.
How do we relate that the practical work that we do with that distance the number in the distance, that's customer lifetime value.
Yeah, you're not going to get the answer in your bottom line, so you have to use proxies. But if you are in a situation where you've got the data to understand the relationship between they've come in, they do X, Y, Z, the patterns of behaviour, then you go, right, acquiring more people through channel one, with this messaging. We know a bigger lump of people in our about to churn pot who've been primed to not churn means our chance to churn has dropped. We should see the results of that in 6 months. But you can't wait 6 months to go, that was truly a good test. But what you do is you're just layering this time series analysis. So you go, okay, these are things where our OKR is we're going to do more stuff to not treat purchasers like crap after they've bought, but actually spend more time looking after our returning users and making their job easier for their restocking than we do on new customer acquisition. And that's going to be a big focus of every test we do, every advert we put out, the way we build our returning users login create account form is going to be more focused to, you're already with us, great news, this bit's easy. But putting that next to the create account actually already sells the account in. If you do it right, if you balance it, but that's not going to show itself immediately. But you can go, well, more bodies registering is a bonus. It's our guardrail. We don't want to annoy those. But our return people going through faster, spending more frequently, we know that's a strong signal that chances are we've done something that's going to help further down the pipeline. So yeah, proxies is the only way you could do it, and you can test and hypothesize and then watch that. But you end up basically using time series analysis to go, look, 6 months ago we did this. There were changes made. Do we see the results following down that whole pipeline that would back up our hypothesis that looking after people means they're happier with it? More money in the bank, yes.
More money in the bank, yes. Do we have any questions for... Yeah. We do. Yes, I do.
Yes, page one.
Omar has a large notepad in front of him.
I wrote down a couple of questions. So from research, we know that retention is an important part to at least rephrasing it. I read a study on from Harvard, like 5% increase of retention already can give an increase of 25 to 95% of profit. So it's an important thing to do, but I see a lot of companies only focusing on acquisition a lot of times. So the question I had from the beginning a little bit, how do you guys actually educate your customers around this topic?
I'm so glad I'm doing this with an audience now, so much better questions than I have.
Yes, I know.
I'd come back to you with a question, is have you established that that's what the company wants to do? Because it may well be that retention is the ideal business model, profitably, etc. But there are businesses who are in high growth where they are literally targeted on acquisition. Effectively, if they're first to market, they're willing to pay more to acquire, to basically steal oxygen from the market from their competitors.
So grow market share on them.
So market share is their target at all costs. Because how many of these big names we see, these unicorns, are running at massive multi-million losses because they know once they've got to a certain critical mass, they can turn that tap off and they basically dominate their entire space. So, SaaS people shouldn't be listening to this, but that's very much the SaaS game in terms of I grab it first, the other guy can't get it. So I would, before I started going, oh, you're doing this all wrong, I'd be can I just check and see what your business strategy is? Have you done the maths? And if they go, oh, we never thought of it like that, just acquisition good. Separate silo. Right, we can have a chat. But if they go, no, here's the structure, here's our timing, here's our runway. If you hear the word runway, okay, who's funding you? Find out when that money runs out, because that tends to be the timeline they put on it, and then you can optimize towards what their business goal is. And if you may not agree with it, you may go, it's a bit short-sighted, but that's what they want to achieve. And then if you have to influence change because you spot they've got far less runway, they're not going to gain market share from whatever data you've got, then you have to gently nudge those decision makers to go, look, here's your choice. You can crash and burn, or you could pivot. And quite often at that level, they're paying you to tell them their baby's ugly. They just need some data to back it up.
So that's basically then the answer for...
That's a really long way to say it depends.
What we often do is surveys again, but before and after the sale, and see if there is a difference in customer satisfaction from the moment they buy and then a few weeks later. And then we can sometimes convince a client like, hey, you're doing pretty good in this section, but there seems to be something wrong with your customer service or your after-sales support.
So you also were talking about using proxies and saying some things about customer being happy or happiness around there. So is NPS also like some good proxy in there?
Carl's getting a stroke.
the no point in it score.
Yeah, so not NPS, but
something
better customer satisfaction.
Customer happiness.
Yeah, definitely. It's incredibly important, I think, but not NPS.
What are your favorites, Carl? Or least
in general?
annoying? Yeah, for customer satisfaction, I mean, there's a whole range of...
I love customer effort score.
Okay, yeah.
Because then you
But it's really specific on the task, right?
Yeah, and it's on a task, but well, the idea of the customer effort score, because it's kind of a negative questions, like how difficult was it, and it makes people think. So it gives you a lot of real inputs to improve stuff that you can play with.
It's much more actionable than NPS, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, NPS is like good for the boardroom.
Yeah.
It's a no point score. Yeah, it depends. If you've got measurement of these things, you can quantify. Sorry, Els. But you can quantify the gaps, so like things between how many people did we. If we set the target of this will be delivered within 2 days, we'll have this level of returns, and then you can say did the effort we make mean more people arrived with the product right first time, we've got this many fewer returns, and more people who have recency frequency have come back and purchased something that they should purchase, that would be likely to purchase, that demonstrates, hey, I'm happy with this, I bought my printer and I'm buying my ink from you. We didn't break something in that relationship. You can also go the actual speak to people route. There you go, Els. And rather than trying to do score, but you got your customer service, like when people take notes, incentivize them to get open questions to people, not just can I fix this, and then record it somewhere. And if you want to do it manually, you can, but you can run sentiment analysis on your CRM. So what did they say when they complained? What words commonly come up? And you can scale that on, then target your interviews to, this seems to be a pain point. Here's where we're going to go talk to people, and here's what we're going to fix as a business to do that. But you've got to take that seriously. That's as much money spent on your making sure somebody who I've already charged money and I've won is happy as it is getting new people. And that's a cultural fit / business decision.
And look at review score websites. Like Daphne showed yesterday, the Trustpilot thing, that you can learn a lot of that, of how happy or unhappy your customers are, what they say. So I think that's don't measure it yourself, but it is out there. For big companies, there are so many websites where people leave their comments. You can really use that as input.
And if you're a small company, just call them. Phone call from the owner saying, hi, be honest, did we do well? What can we do better next time? We're interested in doing that. That phone call and an honest human, don't make it a target for your junior or intern, owner doing it, huge win.
And in B2B also.
B2B account management stuff. What can we do better next time?
Yeah. People are surprised, like, wow, we have a supplier that's interested in us.
You're terrible, I didn't like the product, doesn't fit me, but the fact you phoned me up and asked makes you stand out head and shoulders above more than any banner advert or retargeting you could have done.
I'm trying to find if there's like a way to quantify, because I totally agree, following up with clients and having open questions. But if there's a way to quantify whatever change you're making, if it is having an impact on retention or whatever, not based on customer happiness.
Yeah, but over time you will see your retention rate improve. Look, if your return customer retention rate is X and you're making a lot of effort that's designed to do that, you won't be able to put your finger on it and say this one thing did it. But if you've got a cumulative plan of our overall objective is higher retention with happier customers, and we're going to start measuring it with this all sounds a lot like testing. Here's the hypothesis, here's the thing we're going to change, here's the results we'd expect to see if it's successful.
But more long term, right? I think it's
got to
be
be
a short term measurable thing that I'm implementing this now.
Well, it's something you can measure over time as well to see if there's like any correlation.
But it's a time series analysis show that
makes sense and sounds logical to me. But
we're talking about lifetime value. You can't optimize lifetime value as a quick fix. It's like the clues in the title, lifetime.
true.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Customer
Lifetime,
happiness is
yeah.
incredibly important.
Yeah.
And you see, we just finished a study with online shoppers, and what we saw is that Coolblue scored highest before and after the sale, 4.7 out of 5. So for me, that means that customer happiness and caring about your customer is important. And then you see that other companies, they're way behind. Most e-commerce companies are a lot behind. So there is definitely a relation between customer happiness and retention. So,
And if you've got the data points, if you are tracking across not just sale, but the reaction to the thank you email, the open rates, where they sit in the database, how often you see them if you're on a SaaS tool, how often they log in, which tools they use to log in, all the product analytics, mash that all together, you can infer signals going, this is the behaviour of a happy renewing customer. We've got a lot of people who look like him or her. This is the behaviour of somebody who's highly likely to churn. Ooh, we've got quite a few of them too. That's the area to look at. You're not improving your already retaining people, but you are looking at people who should be retainers and don't match the pattern you're seeing elsewhere. And that gives you a ton of targets to test, which you can go, right, ooh, our 3-month are you doing okay emails got really poor return rates on the people who are about to churn. Let's maybe do it at 1 month and 2 months and 3 months, because we need an earlier signal than that and we can take action. But so you still, same techniques, just applied with a wider lens.
Oh, we can still do A/B testing. That's nice.
Still do A/B testing. I just tend to pay other people to do it for me now.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Tim. We're already out of time. We'll give a hand for our panelists. Of course, Tim and Carl are just gonna keep talking, but I'll just put the slides down. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for all the panelists. Thanks, Ruben, for keeping me in check. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.